I'm on mute. Real quick, if anyone just wants to drop in the chat what kind of marketing they're doing, whether it's Google ads, Facebook ads, SEO, just drop it there in the chat. That way we have an idea kind of everyone's background and we can tailor it better towards you guys. Don't be shy. Right. Currently SEO, interested in PPC. Anyone else? Anyone else? A little bit of everything. Nice.
Or a lot of everything.
Hey, as long as you're doing something, right? Anyone else? Don't be shy. It's a small group. Exploring basics of online legal coaching business. Got it. Kathy, SEO. Very nice. Oh man, bring him in. Work in progress, trying to figure it out. Oh, great. That's great. This will help you. Doing Facebook ads, love to learn Google ads. You're come to the right place. All right, it's 3:05, so let's kick things off. I'm going to share my screen, and if anybody has any questions, you can just hold them till the end or drop in chat if there's a pause, and then we'll address your questions as best as possible. Let me present this. All right. Can you guys see the participant thing? Tatiana, can you see that? Is it on screen or no?
Don't see the participant, like sidebar.
Great. Let me just open chat over here too. That way I can make sure. All right. All right. Looks like it's working here. All right. So let me just introduce you guys to Tatiana. She's our Google Premier Partner Rep. And she's going to be going through kind of some of the best practices, some information on specific verticals in legal. So law, personal injury. Just one second, somebody just jumped in. And so, yeah, she has a lot of data from Google. She has different metrics as far as TV is concerned and other advertising mediums, and then kind of Google's response to these and how you guys can best navigate, the marketing landscape using Google. So it should be very informative. If you guys have any questions, don't be shy. Tatiana's here. She's a resource. And if we need to also afterwards, and you guys want to pull data for another vertical that we haven't addressed here, like estate planning or something like that, you can reach out to me and we can do our best to provide that for you. So if everyone is ready, we'll get started. Can everyone see the screen here? If you can't, just let me know and I'll try and reset something. Yeah, a replay will be available, and I will send, I'll send this slide deck out if I'm allowed to, Tatiana. All right. For some reason, the slides are loading a little slow. Let me just go to this view. All right, here we go.
Yeah, why don't we just keep it that way?
I'm going to keep it this way because it's a little hard to see. I'll zoom in. Actually zoomed out for some reason. All right, here we go. So again, speakers, you have myself, co-founder of Empirical 360, and you have Tatiana Bertolo. She's a Google Premier Partner Rep. I'm sure she can introduce herself a little better. She's going to talk in a second here. And then this is what we're going to be going over today. So Tatiana, if you want to take it away, and anytime you guys have any questions, like I said, chime in on the chat. I'll be monitoring it, and I'll do my best to chime in when I need to.
Sounds good. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I think we have lawyers from all around the country. So I find myself outside of Washington, D.C. I'm actually currently in a basement because we're doing some renovations upstairs. So if you hear some hammering, apologize in advance, but I think we should be okay. I think we're going to cover a lot today just in terms of some of the basics, some of the fundamentals. We're going to go over some consumer behavior and industry trends that we're seeing on the digital side, that shift in media consumption when, now that you've hopefully mastered search and you can move on to other channels. But we will talk about search basics because that's very important to make sure you have a handle on. And just what's unique about 2020, obviously there's a political landscape right now, and it's only going to get more competitive as we move into the fall. And then obviously at the end of the day, we have to engage with your target audience. So how do we make sure that your legal business is staying top of mind and that you're targeting the right audience. So just to give you a little bit of background of myself, I've been an agency development manager for about 2.5 years now. I've been working closely with Empirical. They've been awesome to work with, and just to see their growth, and not just the legal vertical, but healthcare vertical, for example. So they're just amazing to work with, and I'm happy to be able to share some best practices with you all today. So moving on to the next slide, I'm just going to talk a little bit, just so you have some context about the partnership in general. So Google works with the top digital agencies around the country. And so we kind of split it into 3 parts here, where you have your agency and your end clients on the left-hand side. That's working with you all, and that's working with Empirical on their top accounts, making sure that we're looking at their at the top accounts from a health point of view, making sure that they're optimizing all the best campaigns, the ones that are working, making sure that your cost that they're hitting the cost per leads, and if not, what's going on, how can we fix it? Getting access to betas and just industry vertical benchmarks. Next is people, making sure that Empirical's training staff is has the right education and resources. We do executive seminars as well with top accounts, and then on the business side, just again, if you're looking at building your YouTube channel, we have creative to help you. So we have a lot of sort of these business add-ons, these added value seminars that are really sort of pillars to this partnership program. If you move on to the next slide, now we want to understand, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to engaging your audience? Are you even finding your audience? I mean, that's the first question. But once you find them, how are you engaging with them? How are you closing? What's your close rate? Right? It's all about getting and building your pipeline and really finding high quality leads. And I can tell you right now that Empirical is hitting the mark when it comes to conversion rates, right? So getting people to fill out forms, getting people to contact your legal business once they've done their research. So just to give you some background, next slide here, in terms of the consumer behavior side of things. And so right now, 73%, this is across all of our channels here, 73% of consumers say that they are always on the lookout for brands and services that are relevant to them. So they come to Google because they have intent. They want to research, some other social platforms. You're just kind of scrolling through. You're not necessarily paying attention to see what's going on. But when you go to Google, you have an intent on our search page, on our YouTube page, a lot of how-tos on YouTube these days. And then we have our display network, which we'll get into in a little bit later on, which is a good way for us to target those who have shown intent, and then we'll continue to kind of retarget you based on that intent, whether you're trying to find, let's say, an attorney in the bankruptcy industry. And then the second part of this is 85% of consumers will take an action within 24 hours once they discover a product or service that meets their needs. So it's important, yes, to have SEO. I know that was something that was mentioned beforehand. SEO is critical. You got to make sure you have your blogs up and running, that your website speed is fast. But you also, you need PPC, or you need digital advertising to complement your SEO. And you need to take up that real estate on the search page. That's why we always say SEO and SCM are better together. Next slide. Here's a stat in terms of the legal landscape. So 52, this is across the board. Again, I know there's a lot of sub-verticals within the legal world, but overall, we're seeing 52% of searches for law firms and attorneys take place on mobile phones. We have, these days, there's quite, in terms of the journey itself, we look at a lot of different resources before making a decision. Now, you can say that for certain industries, sometimes that life cycle can take up to 24 hours or less. Sometimes it takes a little longer. It just depends on what subvertical you're in. But we're seeing that mobile phones are, they're not going anywhere. They're smarter and smarter. And so a lot of us are just relying on our smartphones to do these searches. 46% of searches for law firms obviously take place on computers. Tablets is a third category that we're not going to talk about because most of it does come from mobile, the mobile side. Interestingly enough, we are going to see that that in some subverticals, the computers or the desktops actually take over a considerable amount of those searches. So it's actually opposite. So that's why it's important to get those insights when you work with an agency that's able to work with us and get those specific vertical benchmarks. So moving on to the next slide, we're seeing a lot of near me searches. I'm not, I'm not sure if you ever tried to Google yourself. I don't recommend actually Googling yourself because, our algorithm is going to start to pick up that you're searching for something, not maybe clicking on your ad all the time. So definitely don't recommend doing that. But when you see sort of the legal industry and the rise of near me searches, here's some stats in terms of a family lawyer near me. It's has increased 40% compared to this time last year. Search intent for affordable family law attorney near me has grown 400%. Okay, that's a huge, huge number. So these are insights that we have to understand. Okay, what are those keywords that are really resonating with the target audience? How do you make sure you're integrating those keywords into your campaigns so the next time someone searches for affordable family law attorney near me, your search result will be at the top of the page. And then best DUI lawyer near me has sort of grown 70% compared to this time last year. So this increase in searches means there's an increase in demand for your service. So you have to stay relevant, you have to stay top of mind, you have to build your websites so that everything is sort of intact and you have a full funnel marketing strategy. The next slide now is sort of, now that we've kind of talked about the legal industry and some of the broad metrics, what is the low-hanging fruit? And that low-hanging fruit is making sure that you dominate our search channels. So we want to make sure that we're first meeting the demand that is out there. So people that are actively searching for your services, this is where you use Google search, where you can place your ads at the top and then you have your SEO results at the bottom. It's going to take time to build your SEO, right? You all probably know that by now. It doesn't just happen instantly. To be a thought leader, to be an industry leader, it takes time. And there's a lot of things that you need to do on the traditional side as well as, building your website and getting people to advocate for you. But then on the PPC side, because our machines are so powerful, we can start to understand who is your target audience and what are they searching for. And so if you go on to the next slide, we have a tool called the Keyword Planner that Empirical uses a lot, and it's starting to show kind of in your area, we can start to project, what is the keyword volume, what are the max CPCs, what are the clicks, and what are the impressions. So these are things that we can start to predict. And again, we won't share CPAs with customers because CPAs is very unique to that business, and everyone has different profit margins and sort of business expenses, right? But when it comes to projecting actual leads to go into your funnel, I believe, and I think you can go to the next slide here, it kind of shows you what Empirical is able to do right now. So your legal industry average is almost 9% in terms of close rate, right? Someone who goes in and fills out your form. So for every 100 visitors to a landing page that Empirical is managing, 30 people are filling out a form or calling in for help. That is, that's an amazing conversion rate. So it just shows you that not only will Empirical make sure that you have a sort of top of the line landing page that is very clear, that has a very clear call to action, but they're able to, again, pinpoint the right target audience and create campaigns around that target audience. So if you go on to the next slide, here's just a quick example of some of the insights that we're able to provide to Empirical. If we look at family law, we can take different DMAs, so certain counties, geographic regions, but we're just going to take the U.S. as a whole. Oh, I think I got logged off. Let me put in my password again. Okay. So if you look at family law for the United States, we have right now, these are just top metrics that I pulled last quarter. So this is Q2 of this year. So that's what, April through June, April, May, June. We're comparing that to Q2 of 2019. So what we saw in Q2, and this is during COVID again, we saw that the overall search growth increased 10%. So there were more queries, more demand out there for people looking for family law services. Okay, that's a pretty big jump. I mean, anything over, I'd say 7 to 8% is a pretty big jump. Now, you can come up with a lot of reasons as to why. Was it COVID? Was it other reasons? Either way, this is information. These are new auctions, new people that you can find and target and try to close. 74% of these came from mobile phones. Okay, even though we're more at home and there's more, desktop time probably, the majority of the searches came from mobile phone. So that's very important to know. You need to make sure that you have an optimized mobile landing page and website overall. And then there was just a 2% change in CPC compared to the previous year, so just a little bit more expensive. Here's another example, personal injury law. Okay, so we're looking at Q2, again, same sort of concept here. If you go to the next slide, and these are the main metrics for PI. So we saw only a 1% increase from Q2 20 to Q2 2019. Not, again, there could be a lot of reasons for it. It could be sort of a vertical industry change, or it could be something specific. But either way, we saw most of the searches for PI actually come from computers. Okay, so we're going to start to not only optimize towards computers, but actually spend more on computers and desktop, because we know most of the searches are coming from there. I mean, not a ton more, but we know it's skewed more towards computers and laptops. And there was a 7% increase in CPCs. So the reason why it's important to understand impressions, queries, CPCs, is this is a good way for you to actually compare yourself, and we can do the competitor analysis on our end with empirical to show, hey, are you above the benchmark from a vertical standpoint, or are you below? How are you doing against your competitors? That's another resource that we tend to use, just to see if it's like a vertical issue, or maybe CPCs are going up for that vertical in general. Maybe it's something to do with your legal business, and we have to take a look and see how we can best support you. So how can you connect with consumers when they aren't necessarily searching for you? And this is where we kind of get into sort of our non-brand searches, which is on search, but then this also kind of pertains to looking at display and YouTube as other channels. So we're going to talk a little bit about the shift in media consumption. So historically, we've always seen, these behavior changes where we had the traditional, TVs and just kind of old school ways of word of mouth, of understanding, what are the cool brands out there, what are the good sort of legal services, and getting those referrals mouth to mouth. But now we can reach with a very accurate sort of marker. So we can reach for people that are in market for, buying cars, in market for car loans, you name it, there's an in-market audience for it. And so if you go to the next slide, this is going to show you also our viewership habits are changing. So globally, we can see that, we are moving from TV to digital, and nothing too surprising there. But I would say even during COVID, this is drastically changed, right? More and more people are, moving towards connected TVs, moving towards YouTube. So our viewership has really increased even within the last, I would say, 3-4 months. Next slide. So we have our cord cutters. We have our what we call sort of light TV viewers. Okay, so if you are, or historically even have maybe ran some TV campaigns or even radio, okay, a lot of these things are very hard to measure. The best thing about YouTube is that you can target with precision. If you know that you would like to target light TV viewers, we can start, or ones that don't subscribe to TV at all. This could be, if you start to see that your demographic kind of fits this, we can kind of confirm that as well. But even, you kind of see the customers that are coming through, if they're on the younger side, if they're older, married, not married, etc. So these are things that we can start to pinpoint in our targeting when we start to create those campaigns. And this just kind of shows some DMAs across the county. And it says 208 of 210 DMAs are experiencing TV loss for audiences aged 25 to 54. So there's actually, when I think of my parents even, they're starting to move away from TV. They're starting to use their smartphones more, right? These are they're kind of in that age group where they're about to retire, right? They're actually using YouTube just as much now, right? Because it took some time. It's not just for younger audiences, but it is also for older audiences. So I think that's why sort of that myth out there, it's just, YouTube is just for millennials or younger generations. That's not true, because when I even think of my own parents and how they use their smartphones and how they use YouTube, things are changing. And cord cutting demand has challenged local advertising. So I think, in terms of sort of the average CPPs that we're seeing, TV is definitely more costly, and it's going to get even more costly if you skip 2 slides here. the political ad spend, right? It's going to hit a record high. It's going to be a lot more competitive. There's going to be a lot more noise on these traditional sort of channels. So the best thing that I could say about YouTube is that not only is it super targeted, but we can also measure with precision, right? And give you actual, measurement tracks and be able to understand kind of what that customer journey is. And so now that YouTube is connected to search, this is something that's fairly new. But anytime that you search for something on search, let's say you're looking for a car loan, the next time you go to YouTube, you're going to be served an ad on YouTube for some sort of, banking service. So these two weren't connected in the past. I would say about a year and a half ago, we finally connected the two systems, so you can create custom audiences for reaching out to people, not just people that had searched on search, but people that were on YouTube searching for your service or product. So it's a very powerful tool from a targeting perspective. So you can see here, it's just political TV advertising is taking up a larger share of TV spend, especially in those swing states. So I know historically, if you're a smaller legal agency, you may not be spending on TV, maybe, but usually this was one of the main drivers, and we're trying to show the power of YouTube to the legal industry right now because of its targeting and measurement capabilities. And then streaming usage is surging as US enters the sort of the self-distancing COVID kind of work from home reality. 66% of consumers are streaming more content since the outbreak, 35% increase in collective minutes streamed over 2 weeks at the beginning of March. So you can see those numbers start to spike right sort of at that mid-March timeframe, and we've seen it go up even further. So I think there's definitely the one message here from a YouTube perspective is just to remember how powerful it is and how it's connected to search. So how can you engage your audience in this moment, in this crazy moment? Well, we want to make sure that you understand Google is not just made up of search and YouTube. We have Android, we have Google Maps, we have Chrome. And so we have all these different platforms that all have more than 1 billion users. So our systems, I would say even the last year and a half, 2 years, have the automation side of things has really, really improved. Our systems are getting smarter, being able to connect the dots, being able to understand journeys. And so I want you to walk away from this thinking, okay, Google has a powerful platform, of course, but how do we make sure that we're driving, at the end of the day, you just care about cost per lead, right? You want to make sure that you're bringing high quality leads to help improve your business. But as you start to saturate search and you're kind of, you feel good about the search channel, you have to start looking elsewhere, right? And that's building on what we just talked about, YouTube and the display network.
Yeah, and I want to chime in there, Tatiana, too. It's cool when you're on all these different networks because you kind of get like that omnipresent feel, like, okay, I just searched them. Now I see them on my Gmail. Now I see them on the maps. Now I see them over here. And even, I know this is a Google presentation, Tatiana's going to get mad, but now I see them on Facebook. So
yeah,
you have that feeling of being everywhere to your clients. It's like, man, these are the people to work with, and you're following them around. So using all the networks, especially these other ones, which are much cheaper, is really, really, it's a big advantage because you have that omnipresent feel and you stay top of mind. And there's more slides. Just wanted to
yeah.
there.
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to bash a Facebook or Bing. I think they fit a specific sort of need, right? And I think let's use those systems to our advantage by learning and understanding, okay, what are the type of leads that are coming through Facebook, let's say. What is that demographic? What do they look like? And how can we learn from that to create better campaigns on the Google side and vice versa, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to put money towards something that is actually going to be driving leads and driving down that cost per lead. Because CPCs in our industry, in this legal industry, are very high, right? So we want to make sure that that not only are they filling out forms or calling you, but that we're also able to close them. So here's just sort of a nice visual of the three channels other than search. So it's YouTube. So the nice complementary product of TV and radio is YouTube. If you're thinking about billboards or print, or you've done that in the past, a very easy concept on our end to kind of compare the two. The similar product would be the Google Display Network, which are those banner ads that you've seen. Those banner ads actually have become a lot more popular because we can target them the same way we can target them on YouTube. We have in-market audiences. We have, obviously the demographic type filters, but the display network, those banner ads are now what we call responsive. So they're smart. We call them smart or responsive ads. So based on what you search for, us as we build these ads, will kind of create a set of visuals and a set of headlines. And depending on what you search for, the system's going to pick the best headline, the best description, and the best image to fit your query. And it does it in a matter of milliseconds, right? So our display network is getting smarter as well. And then last but not least, we didn't really touch on this too much, but if you're on social, or if you've done sort of mailings in the past, the complementary product here on the Google side is called Discovery, fairly new, but think of it as our Google homepage, or not homepage, because when I say home, you think of search. But if you do have like an Android phone, you would see sort of the Google home feed with these advertisements. You can also use Gmail. You'll also see Discovery lives on the homepage of YouTube as well. So it's where our big sort of feeds are. And this is very similar to what you would see like on Facebook. And then finally, I had talked about sort of the targeting, the targeting, really what I mean by that is smarter audiences. So we kind of break you into certain groups based on what you're searching for. And if you've searched for AC repairs on Google app, maybe you start to look on Google Maps. Like, we'll start to kind of find you the right combination so you can get the best result. So in this case, you maybe watched a YouTube video on how to fix a broken pipe. And then you search for AC repairs, and then you browse some sites to find a moving company. These are all ways that we're starting to connect the dots that a human wouldn't possibly be able to figure out. That's why we're using more automated techniques, but you need an agency or someone well-versed in the marketing, in the digital marketing space, to be able to create those campaigns and figure out and understand what best practices are and figure out the best way to target your audience. So we always talk about sort of full funnel, right? So if you think of top of the funnel, you think of casting a wide net, really putting in a lot of effort towards awareness and what we call reach, right? So maybe you just add a couple filters from a demographic standpoint, 35 plus, top 10% of household income, maybe a parent. That's sort of like your awareness campaign. That's something you would do, let's say, on YouTube, right? Then you have that consideration phase. So they kind of know who what your brand is or what services you have. And they're starting to kind of decide, maybe research a little bit. So this is where we can use certain audience stages. This is, again, in display or YouTube, where you can start to target people who are do-it-yourselfers or frequently shop at big box stores, or people that they've just moved, right? Or they just got married. These are all life events. So depending on your vertical, you can actually target these specific groups. At the end of the day, bottom of the funnel, you want leads. We get that. We know it. We want to make sure that we're, driving down that cost per lead over time. With the legal industry, of course, there are policy issues. A lot of the times, remarketing isn't something that we can do. But I think at the end of the day, if you dominate search and you have sort of an established brand, and you have brand campaigns, meaning you're including your name in that campaign, so people are searching for the name of your company, but then they're also researching, and maybe it's a non-brand campaign where they're using words like family law or family lawyer near me, right? So that's what we call a non-brand search, and that's why it's so important for us to make sure that you're that you've got search covered, and that you're sort of getting flagged at the top of the page, and that your quality score is up. There's a lot of different ways to kind of measure what a successful campaign is, but at the end of the day too, it's all about driving leads. And so you need to make sure that you're, because we're so omni-channel, we're kind of searching things in different ways. It's important to have that awareness across all these platforms. And last but not least, I think we can all attest to this. A lot of us consult different sources, and in this case, there was a study done that we consult an average of 10 sources before making a purchase. 90% of us switch between devices. So we go from YouTube to the display network to search page back to YouTube. So it's just getting, much more complex. You want to make sure that you're top of mind across all these different platforms. Last but not least, we talked about full funnel solution, display, discover, YouTube at the top of the funnel there. As you work your way down, again, you want to drive action, but then you want to grow that loyalty. And so I think we have ways or we have different platforms to kind of fulfill each part of the funnel. I think it's important to drive leads, but I also think it's very important to build that awareness. You have to cast a wide net. People have to know your name before making a decision. So that's sort of the last part of this. The three takeaways here is utilize the entire digital network. We talked about all those platforms. Reach your audience based on their habits and interests. So we can take a look and see what different interests or audience groups we can use that fit your business and your business goals. And then always build a search foundation, making sure that you have awareness and consideration campaigns. So that's about it in terms of this presentation. Just wanted to give you a quick view into our partnership, how the landscape has changed, what are the fundamentals, and talk a little bit about some of the other channels that you might not know of.
Yeah, and
so we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, we'll open up to questions. Just chime in. So kind of the idea behind this whole thing, what we like to do is we like to initially capture people right off the bat with search. I know we kind of talked about that. And then these other things are just great ways to stay in people's face and stay top of mind. So that's why we chose this presentation. It gives you an idea of the capability of what you can do to really get your firm out there. And the nice thing, again, about Google is it's not a media buy. So anytime you want to pause your campaigns or dial your budgets back, you don't have that commitment of like a billboard or TV. So that's kind of why we chose this presentation, to show you the ability to be everywhere, but still do it at an affordable cost, which is what, attorneys they're always thinking, oh my gosh, it's so expensive to market, but we can do this on a very, very small budget, which is what's nice about it. So it's kind of my 2 cents there. We also have this, I know this has been a hot topic lately. Talked about these local service ads. If you guys want to know more about this, it's kind of the guaranteed program for attorneys that they're rolling out. I can send you some information on this. It's just to get your ads listed as a trusted source from Google. It's called Google, what is it? Google Guaranteed? Google Screened?
Google Screened, yeah.
So if you guys want more information on that, you can chime in the chat there and let me know. But we'll open it up for questions now. If you want to unmute your mic or just drop it in chat, we can address any questions. Go ahead. You got Tatiana here from Google. If you want any reports, vertical trend reports on your particular industry, drop it in the chat.
Tatiana, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
A lot of these seem like suggestions to just kind of have your name out there. And I'm with a personal injury law firm, and it's more of a, I've just been in an accident, or someone in my family's just had something happen to them. I need somebody now, versus, just overall presence during. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Just our name being out there.
Yeah.
And so the YouTube channel thing and things like that might not seem like the exact right thing. I mean, they're kind of, I'm looking for a lawyer right now, and I need one now, kind of more than the overall background knowledge of the firm. Or
yeah, I would say PI is a little different. I think you're hitting on that, where it's something definitely more immediate because you're in an accident, and so you need someone right away. I think if you always remember kind of how a lot of people, I think at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you have campaigns that speak to, or that are able to kind of show up for a quick, query or search for an accident lawyer, right? So you will have that basis, absolutely. And you want to make sure that, you're top of the page and that you show up as soon as that search happens. But I think overall, it's important to have an established brand, because you want people to remember you. to be top of mind is very important, especially if you're in a specific region. And you know, if you think of like those billboards and stuff, those are to get people to kind of remember, oh, what was that image again? What did I see? I feel like I see that name all the time. I mean, it happens even with plumbing, right? Like we just had a plumbing issue right now. And you know, I told my parents at the time, I said, you know, there's that company called Michael and Sons. I always used to see their ads. Are they still around? Like, you know, and so they could have done a quick search too, because of the plumbing issue was needed to be fixed within 24 hours. But I told them Michael and Sons, and they looked them up, and they were an established brand, and they said, okay, yeah, you know, we have heard of them. They've been around for years in this area, so why don't we go ahead and give them a call? And they're coming here. So I think it's important to have that brand awareness and to kind of continue that going forward while also capturing those leads that want to make a quick decision.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. Any other questions? Any specific data points you guys want to hear about? We got Tatiana for like 15 more minutes.
Is there anything that resonated that, you know, you thought you agreed with, or something you disagreed with, or wanted more information on?
See if anybody chats in here. Don't be shy.
What sub-verticals do we have here? I know of some already, but if you want to chat them in. Something I didn't touch on.
Not seeing any chats coming through. Give it a minute. Any other questions? If no questions, we can wrap it up, and we'll definitely send out a recording of this with the, I know it says Google Confidential. Can I send these out, Tatiana?
Yes, you can. These, yes.
All right. Yeah. So unless there's any questions, we can wrap this up, and I'll send an email out shortly with the slides and the recording. The recording will take a little bit of time to upload, but I will do that. Last couple chances. Anybody? James? Robert? Tafiki? Thanks. Nice job. Thank you. Very nice to hear.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, hopefully that was helpful, everyone. And again, we're always here to answer any questions, provide you any sort of more specific subvertical information. We just wanted to make sure that we had everyone understand sort of the different products and how they all fit together. Perfect. All right. Well, we'll wrap things up here. And if you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Go to our website. Elliot at Empirical360 is my email. And hope to hear from you.
Thank you.
Very helpful. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Tatiana.
Thanks. Bye.